The waitress saw flames swallow the diner. Everyone ran out, except the little girl searching for her toy. She didn't think. She just ran back in. What she didn't know, the child's father was a mafia boss. And saving his daughter had just made her both protected and targeted. The grease trap hadn't been cleaned in 3 weeks. Maya noticed it when she clocked in at 4 p.m., the same way she noticed everything at Rose's diner that management ignored. The flickering light above booth 7, the wobbly leg on table 12, the faint burning smell that had been getting stronger each shift. She'd mentioned it twice. Rosa had waved her off both times. "We'll get to it, sweetheart. We'll get to it." Now it was 11:47 p.m., and Maya was wiping down the counter with hands that ached from a double shift. Her tips sat crumpled in her apron pocket. $63, enough for groceries and maybe, if she was lucky, $20 toward next month's rent. The diner was nearly empty. Just her, Rosa counting the register and back, and the man in booth 7. He'd walked in an hour ago with his daughter, and Maya had felt the air change. She couldn't explain it. He wasn't loud or threatening. He wore an expensive charcoal suit that didn't belong in a place like this, and he moved with the kind of stillness that made people nervous. Dark hair, graying at the temples. Eyes that tracked everything. When he'd ordered black coffee, scrambled eggs for the girl, his voice had been polite, almost gentle. But everyone who saw him looked away. The girl was maybe 8, all dark curls and bright eyes, chattering about a field trip to the zoo. She had a stuffed elephant tucked under one arm, worn soft from love. Maya had brought them extra toast, shaped into a smiley face for the kid, and the girl had beamed at her. The man had nodded once. "Thank you." That was it. 2 words that somehow felt like more. Maya was refilling the coffee pot when she smelled it, stronger now, acrid and wrong. She turned toward the kitchen just as the first wisp of smoke curled through the order window. "Rosa," she called. The smoke thickened. Fast. Too fast. Maya's heart kicked against her ribs. She dropped the coffee pot and ran toward the kitchen, shoving through the swinging door. The grill was fine. The fryer was off. But behind the stove, where the wiring met the grease trap, orange flames were crawling up the wall like living things. "Fire!" Maya screamed. "Rosa, get out!" Rosa stumbled from the back office, eyes wide with panic. Maya grabbed the extinguisher from the wall, aimed and squeezed. White foam sprayed across the flames, but they were already spreading, feeding on old grease and peeling paint. The foam wasn't enough. "Call 911. Maya choked out, smoke burning her throat. "Go!" Rosa ran for the phone. Maya backed out of the kitchen, coughing, eyes streaming. The diner was filling with smoke now, thick and gray. Through the haze, she saw the man in booth 7 standing, phone already pressed to his ear, his other hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Everyone out!" Maya shouted, gesturing toward the door. "Now!" The man moved immediately, guiding his daughter toward the exit. But halfway there, the girl twisted in his grip, her face crumpling. "Mr. Snuggles," she cried, pointing back toward their booth. The stuffed elephant sat abandoned on the cracked vinyl seat. "Leah, no," the man started, but the girl was already running, small legs pumping, disappearing into the smoke. Maya didn't think. She just moved. She plunged back into the gray fog, one arm over her mouth, squinting against the sting. The heat was intense now, the fire roaring behind the kitchen door. She could hear the girl coughing, crying, somewhere near booth 7. "I've got you," Maya called, following the sound. She found her crouched by the booth, clutching the elephant, tears streaming down her soot-stained face. Maya scooped her up, God, she was so small, and turned back toward where the door should be. But the smoke was everywhere now, disorienting. The ceiling groaned. Maya ran blind, holding the girl tight against her chest, one hand stretched out in front. Her shin cracked against a table. She stumbled, caught herself, kept moving. Then she saw it, the red glow of the exit sign. 5 more steps. 4. 3. The ceiling made a sound like thunder. Maya dove forward, twisting midair to take the impact on her shoulder as burning drywall crashed down behind them. Pain exploded through her back, hot and sharp. She rolled, protecting the girl, and then hands were on her, strong hands, pulling them both through the doorway and into the cold night air. Maya collapsed on the sidewalk, gasping. The girl still clutched against her. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer.
Leah.
Leah, look at me. The man was on his knees beside them, face pale, hands trembling as he reached for his daughter. The girl released Maya and threw herself into her father's arms, sobbing into his chest. He held her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. Maya tried to sit up, but her head spun. The man looked at her over his daughter's curls, and something shifted in his dark eyes, something raw and unguarded. You saved her, he said, voice rough. You saved my daughter. Maya's lungs burned. She couldn't find words. Fire trucks screeched to a halt, firefighters jumping out, shouting orders. Paramedics rushed over with oxygen masks and blankets. Maya let them guide her to the ambulance, still coughing, still shaking. As they loaded her into the back, she heard two firefighters talking near the engine. That's Vittorio Romano, one muttered, nodding toward the man holding his daughter.
Jesus Christ.
That's actually him.
Romano?
You mean?
Yeah.
That Romano. The other firefighter went quiet. Maya's blood turned to ice. She knew that name. Everyone in the city knew that name. The Romanos weren't just criminals, they were the criminals, the family that owned half the city's underground and probably more of the legitimate side than anyone wanted to admit. And she'd just saved the daughter of their boss. The ambulance doors closed, and Maya stared at the ceiling, her heart pounding for entirely different reasons now. What had she just done? The hospital smelled like antiseptic and bad coffee. Maya sat on the edge of the examination bed, an oxygen mask dangling from her hand, watching the nurse update her chart. Her throat felt like she'd swallowed sandpaper, and her shoulder throbbed where the debris had hit her, but the doctor said she'd be fine. Minor smoke inhalation. Some bruising. Nothing that wouldn't heal. You're lucky, the nurse said, not looking up. Another 30 seconds in there, and we'd be having a different conversation.
Lucky. Right.
Through the curtain, Maya could hear the little girl, Leah, chattering with her doctor in the next bay. Her voice was hoarse but animated, already bouncing back with the resilience only kids seem to have. Maya felt a strange tightness in her chest that had nothing to do with the smoke. At least she was okay. You can go home once we finish the paperwork, the nurse continued. Someone coming to pick you up? Maya shook her head. I'll take the bus. The nurse finally looked at her, something like pity crossing her face, but she didn't argue. She just handed Maya a bottle of water and left. Maya was pulling on her smoke-stained jacket when she heard the voices outside her curtain, low, urgent, unmistakably nervous. Mr. Romano, visiting hours are... I won't be long. That voice. Polite. Gentle. Absolutely unyielding. The curtain pulled back, and Vittorio Romano stepped inside. He looked different than he had at the diner. The suit jacket was gone, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. There was soot on his collar, and something haunted in his eyes that made him seem almost human. Almost. Miss? He paused, realizing he didn't know her name. Maya, her voice came out rough.
Maya Santos.
Miss Santos, he took a single step closer, hands clasped in front of him like he was approaching something fragile. I wanted to thank you. What you did tonight. How's your daughter? Maya interrupted. She didn't want his thanks. Didn't want whatever came with it. His expression softened. She's fine. Thanks to you. They're keeping her overnight for observation, but she's already asking for pancakes, he paused. She wants to see you before you leave. To say thank you properly. Maya's instinct was to refuse, to slip out and disappear before this got more complicated. But she thought of those bright eyes and that worn elephant and found herself nodding. Okay, just for a minute. Leah's bay was 2 curtains down, decorated with a stuffed elephant now sitting on the bed like a tiny guardian. The girl's face lit up when she saw Maya. "You saved Mr. Snuggles," Leah said, reaching for her hand. "And me. Daddy says you're a hero." Maya squeezed her small hand gently. "I'm glad you're okay, sweetheart. Will you come visit me? When I'm not in the hospital, we could have a tea party. A real one, with cookies." Maya's throat tightened. "Maybe someday." Vittorio walked her to the elevator afterward, silent until the doors opened. "If you ever need anything," he said quietly, pressing a card into her hand. "Anything at all, you call that number." Maya looked at the card, plain white, nothing but a phone number embossed in black. She wanted to throw it away. Instead, she slipped it into her pocket. "I just did what anyone would do," she said. "No," his voice was firm. "You didn't." The elevator doors closed between them. Maya caught the 6 a.m. bus home, showered off the smoke smell, and slept for 4 hours. When her alarm went off at noon, she dragged herself up, swallowed 3 ibuprofen, and headed to the diner for her evening shift. She needed the distraction. Needed normal. But when she pushed through the door at 3:45 p.m., Rosa was waiting by the counter, and Maya knew immediately that something was wrong. Rosa's eyes were red, her hands twisting a dish towel into knots. "Maya, honey, sit down."
I'm fine, Rosa. Doctor cleared me.
"I can work." "You can't," Rosa's voice cracked. "Baby, I'm so sorry, but I have to let you go." The words didn't make sense at first. Maya just stared at her. "What?" "I can't keep you on. Not after last night. Not after." Rosa's face crumpled. "Do you know who that man was? Who his daughter was?" "The Romanos." "I know." "Then you know what that means." Rosa moved closer, gripping Maya's hands desperately. "The Morettis own my loan, Maya. They own the paper on this building. I'm 2 months behind, and they've been looking for an excuse to squeeze me. If they find out I'm employing someone connected to Vittorio Romano, even as a hero, they'll burn this place down with me in it." Maya felt cold. "Rosa, I'm not connected to anyone. It doesn't matter." Tears spilled down Rosa's cheeks. "In this city, saving his daughter is the same as choosing a side. And I can't afford to be on that side. I have grandkids, Maya. I have a life I'm trying to protect." Maya pulled her hands away, stepping back. "So you're firing me for saving a little girl's life?" "I'm firing you to keep us both alive." Rosa's voice broke completely. "Please, honey. Please understand." Maya understood perfectly. She pulled off her apron, dropped it on the counter, and walked out without another word. Behind her, Rosa sobbed. The morning sun felt too bright, too indifferent. Maya stood on the sidewalk, unemployed, rent due in 2 weeks, and suddenly tangled in a world she'd never asked to enter. She touched the card in her pocket. Then she started walking home. Maya's rent was due in 12 days. She sat at her kitchen table, a folding card table that wobbled on uneven linoleum, and counted her savings for the 3rd time, as if the numbers might magically change. $247. Rent was $800. Her landlord, Mr. Chin, was kind but not that kind. Outside her window, the city hummed with its usual indifference. Car horns, distant sirens, someone's radio playing too loud.
She needed a job.
Maya spent the next 2 days walking every commercial block within 3 miles of her apartment. She knew the restaurant scene in this part of town, had worked in 5 different places over the past 4 years, building a reputation as reliable, hardworking, someone who showed up on time and didn't complain. That reputation should have meant something. First stop, Luciano's, the Italian place on 8th Street where she'd worked brunch shifts 2 years ago. The owner, Marco, had always liked her. Maya. He'd smiled when she walked in, but it faded fast when she mentioned she was looking for work. I heard about the fire. Terrible thing. You're okay?"
I'm fine.
"I was hoping you might have something open, even part-time." I wish I could help. Marco wouldn't meet her eyes. But we're fully staffed right now. Maybe check back in a few months. They both knew he was lying. There was a help wanted sign in the window. Second stop, the Morning Brew, a coffee shop that always needed people. The manager was younger than Maya, with a tight smile and sharper eyes. We're not hiring, she'd said before Maya even finished introducing herself. The sign outside says, we're not hiring, firmer this time. Maya left without another word. Third stop, Charlie's Bar and Grill. Fourth stop, the Garden Bistro. Fifth stop, Dimitri's Greek Kitchen. The answer was always the same. Sometimes polite, sometimes curt, but always a rejection. By the third day, Maya stopped bothering with the places that required applications. She could see it in their faces the moment she walked in, that flicker of recognition, that subtle shift in posture. They knew who she was. At Chen's Noodle House, Mrs. Chen actually looked sorry about it. She poured Maya tea and spoke in a low voice, glancing toward the kitchen where her husband worked. You seem like a good girl, she said quietly. But people are talking. They say you're connected to the Romano family now. I'm not connected to anyone, Maya said, frustrated. I just helped a kid. That's all. Mrs. Chun patted her hand. In this neighborhood, there's no such thing as just anything when it comes to those families. You understand? My husband's cousin. He worked at a restaurant that the Morettis used for meetings. Just worked there. When the Romanos hit that place 3 years ago, he lost an eye. She pulled her hand back. We can't take that risk. I'm sorry. Maya walked home in the rain, her jacket soaked through, her last $5 spent on a bus transfer. She passed a dozen more restaurants, didn't bother going inside. What was the point? She'd saved a child from a fire, and somehow that made her untouchable. That night, Maya sat in her apartment and stared at the business card she'd sworn she wouldn't use. Plain white, black numbers. A lifeline she didn't want. Her phone rang. The number was unlisted. Maya almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Miss Santos. The voice was male, older, unfamiliar. My name is Frank DeLuca. I manage Rossetti's Steakhouse downtown. I heard you're looking for work. Maya's heart jumped. Yes. Yes, I am. Great. We need someone for evening shifts, 5 days a week. Experienced servers only. Pay is $18 an hour plus tips. When can you start? It was too good. Too perfect. Too convenient. Mr. DeLuca, can I ask how you heard about me? There was a pause. Does it matter? You need work, I need staff. Simple as that. Did someone ask you to call me? Another pause, longer this time. When he spoke again, his voice had changed, still polite, but strained. Look, Miss Santos, I'm offering you a good job. You want it or not? Maya's hands were shaking. Who asked you to hire me? Was it Vittorio Romano? The line went dead. She tried calling back. The number went straight to voicemail, a generic automated message, no name. Maya set the phone down and pressed her palms against her eyes. She understood now. It wasn't just that people were afraid to hire her. Someone was making sure they didn't. And the one person who might have helped, who might have used his influence to get her work, would only make things worse. Any job that came from Vittorio Romano would mark her permanently as his. She was trapped, saved a life, and ended up in a cage. Maya made mac and cheese from a box for dinner, one of 6 boxes left in her cupboard, and tried to figure out her next move. She could leave the city, maybe. Start over somewhere the Romano name meant nothing. But she had $70 in her bank account and no car. She was still sitting there, bowl untouched, when her apartment building's fire alarm started screaming. Maya's blood turned to ice. Not again. She grabbed her phone and ran for the door, her mind already racing with one terrible thought. This wasn't a coincidence. The fire alarm turned out to be old Mrs. Kowalski on the 4th floor, who'd fallen asleep with a pot of soup on the stove. The building filled with smoke, but no flames. No bombs. No attacks. Maya stood on the sidewalk with 24 other residents, shivering in the October cold, and felt ridiculous for panicking. She was seeing threats everywhere now, jumping at shadows. But when she returned to her apartment and triple-locked the door, her hands were still shaking. She couldn't live like this. Across town, in an office that overlooked the city like a kingdom, Vittorio Romano sat at his desk and stared at a folder. The folder was thin.
Too thin.
It contained everything his people had found on Maya Santos in 48 hours, employment history at 6 different restaurants. No criminal record. No family in the city, parents deceased, car accident in Ohio when she was 19. An associate's degree from community college, earned at night while working full-time. Student loans almost paid off. Lived in a 5th-floor walk-up in a neighborhood that was 3 blocks from gentrification and 20 years from safe. She was invisible. One of thousands of people in this city who worked hard, kept their heads down, and barely stayed afloat. She'd also risked her life for his daughter without hesitation, and now she was paying the price. She's been turned away from 11 places in 3 days, said Marco, his head of security, standing across the desk. Marco was 52, built like a wall, and had been with the family since Vittorio's father ran things. Word spread fast. People think hiring her means picking a side. Vittorio's jaw tightened. I didn't ask for this. She didn't ask for this. Doesn't matter what anyone asked for. The Morettis are making moves. They know she matters to you. She doesn't matter to me, Vittorio said sharply. I don't even know her. She's just someone who did something decent. Marco raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Vittorio stood and walked to the window. Below, the city stretched out in all directions, his city, in ways both legitimate and otherwise. He'd spent 20 years building power, consolidating control, keeping the peace through careful balance and strategic force. He didn't do sentiment.
Couldn't afford to.
But when he closed his eyes, he saw Leah's face in that hospital bed, chattering about tea parties and cookies with the woman who'd saved her life. Find out what she needs, Vittorio said quietly, discreetly. No direct contact.
Just
make sure she's okay. Boss. I know what you're going to say. I know it's complicated. But I'm not going to let someone suffer for saving my daughter. Find a way.
Marco nodded slowly.
And if the Morettis make a move on her? Vittorio turned from the window, his expression cold. Then we'll have a different conversation. Maya was coming back from another failed job interview, a diner in Queens that had suddenly filled the position the moment she walked in, when she noticed the car. Black sedan. Tinted windows. Parked across from her building. She'd seen it yesterday too, in the same spot. And maybe the day before, though she hadn't paid attention then. Maya's stomach dropped. She walked past her building, keeping her pace steady, and turned the corner. The sedan didn't follow. She circled the block, came up the alley side, and slipped in through the back entrance. In her apartment, she stood away from the windows and called the one person she knew who understood how this world worked. Rosa answered on the 3rd ring. Maya, honey, I can't. Someone's watching my building, Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. A black car. It's been there for days. Silence on the other end. Rosa, please. I don't know what to do. I don't know who they are. Rosa's exhale was shaky. Could be Romano's people. Could be Moretti's. Could be cops, for all we know. Baby, you need to be careful. You're in the middle of something now, whether you want to be or not. I didn't ask for this. Neither did that little girl when the fire started. But here we are, Rosa's voice softened. Listen to me. If Romano's people are watching you, that's probably good. Means he's protecting you. But if it's the Morettis... She didn't finish the sentence. Maya hung up and pulled out the white card from her pocket. She'd been carrying it for days, a constant weight that felt heavier each time she touched it. One phone call. That's all it would take. Vittorio Romano had offered help, and clearly he had the power to give it. But accepting that help meant accepting everything that came with it. It meant becoming part of his world, even tangentially. It meant giving up the normal life she'd been fighting so hard to keep. Maya put the card back in her pocket. She'd figure this out on her own. That night, Maya took the subway to a 24-hour diner in Brooklyn, far from her neighborhood. She ordered coffee and started applying to jobs online places across the city, even in Jersey. Anything to get out from under the shadow of the Romano name. She was on her third application when a man slid into the booth across from her. He wasn't dressed like the men she'd seen with Vittorio. Cheaper suit. Hungry eyes. A smile that didn't reach them. "Maya Santos?" he asked, though he clearly knew the answer. Maya's hand moved slowly toward her phone. "Who's asking?" "A friend," the smile widened. "Someone who thinks you and him should have a conversation. Somewhere private." "I'm not interested." "That's unfortunate," he leaned forward. "Because my employer is very interested in you. And Mr. Moretti doesn't like being told no." The Morettis. Maya's blood ran cold, but she kept her voice steady. "Tell Mr. Moretti I'm nobody. I'm not involved in whatever war he's fighting." "You saved Romano's daughter. That makes you involved," he stood up. "We'll be in touch, Miss Santos."
Soon.
He walked out, leaving Maya alone with her coffee and the terrible understanding that her choices had just run out. She pulled out the white card one more time. And this time, she made the call. The phone rang 3 times before someone picked up.
No greeting.
Just silence, waiting. "This is Maya Santos," she said, hating how small her voice sounded. "I need. Someone just approached me."
A man.
He said he worked for Moretti. "Where are you?" The voice was male, clipped, professional. "Not Vittorio." "Brooklyn. A diner on 4th Avenue near. Stay there. Someone will pick you up in 10 minutes. Black SUV. The driver will use the name you gave your stuffed animal as a child." Maya's mouth went dry. "How do you?" The line went dead. She sat frozen, her coffee going cold. They knew about Patches, the rabbit she'd had when she was 6. They'd researched her that deeply, that personally. The thought should have terrified her, but right now it felt like the only solid thing in a world that had gone sideways. 9 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up outside. The window rolled down, and a woman with sharp eyes and sharper cheekbones looked at her through the glass. "Patches," the woman said. Maya grabbed her bag and ran. They didn't take her to wherever she'd expected. No dark warehouse, no intimidating office. Instead, the SUV drove to a residential street in Park Slope, stopping in front of a brownstone with flower boxes in the windows. "Safe house," the woman said, opening Maya's door. "You'll stay here tonight. Mr. Romano will contact you in the morning." "I don't want to stay anywhere. I just need." "You called us, Miss Santos. That man who approached you? He's a scout. The Morettis know where you live, where you go, what bus you take. If you go home tonight, they'll be waiting." The woman's expression softened slightly. "This isn't a prison, but it's the smart choice." Maya followed her inside because she was right, and they both knew it. The house was surprisingly normal. Comfortable furniture, a kitchen that smelled like someone had cooked dinner recently, books on the shelves. A woman in her 60s was watching a crime show in the living room and barely looked up when they entered. "Upstairs, second door on the left," the driver said. "There's a bathroom attached. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen. Try to get some sleep." Then she left, and Maya was alone in a stranger's house, protected by a man she'd met once, from people who wanted to use her as a pawn in a war she didn't understand. She didn't sleep. At 2:47 a.m., Maya was sitting by the window, watching the empty street, when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, then saw the message. "Still awake?"
There.
Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Finally, she typed.
Can't sleep.
"This is insane." The response came quickly. "I know. I'm sorry you're in this position. You didn't put me here. I did it to myself. You saved my daughter. That's not something to apologize for." Maya stared at the screen, then typed. "What do the Morettis want?" 3 disappeared, appeared again. "Leverage. They think if they have you, they have a way to hurt me. They're wrong, but they'll try anyway. So what happens now? Now you're protected until this is resolved. And how long will that take? This time, the pause was longer. I don't know, but I promise you, this will end. Maya set the phone down and pressed her forehead against the cool window glass. Outside, the city slept on, unaware and uncaring. The next morning, Maya was eating toast in the kitchen when the older woman finally spoke to her. "You're the one who saved the little girl," she said, not a question. Maya nodded. Good, the woman poured herself coffee. World needs more people who do the right thing, even when it's stupid. Despite everything, Maya almost smiled. She spent the day in limbo, safe, comfortable, and completely trapped. The woman, who introduced herself only as and made lunch and didn't ask questions. The TV played mindless daytime shows. Maya tried to read, tried to think, tried to plan what came next. She was dozing on the couch when Anne shook her awake. "Get up. We need to move."
Now.
Maya's heart slammed into her throat. What? Why? Someone talked. The Morettas know about this location and was already grabbing car keys, her phone pressed to her ear. Backup is 3 minutes out, but we can't wait. Go out the back door, through the yard to the alley. Black car will meet you there. What about you? I'll be right behind you. Go. Maya ran. She burst through the back door into a small garden, jumped the low fence, and sprinted into the alley. No black car, just shadows and dumpsters, and her own ragged breathing. Footsteps behind her, heavy, fast, multiple people. Maya ran harder, her sneakers slapping against pavement. The alley opened onto a side street. She could see lights, traffic, people, safety in numbers. She was 10 feet from the street when someone grabbed her from behind. Maya screamed, thrashing, but the grip was iron. A hand clamped over her mouth. Easy now, a voice growled in her ear. Mr. Moretti just wants to talk. A van screeched around the corner, side door already sliding open. Then gunfire cracked the night air. The hand released her. Maya stumbled forward as her attacker went down, blood blooming on his shoulder. 2 more men in suits appeared from nowhere. Romano's people, she realized, weapons drawn, moving with military precision. "Get her in the car," one of them shouted. The black SUV from last night roared into the alley. Maya was shoved inside, the door slamming shut as the driver gunned the engine. Through the back window, she saw the Romano guards exchanging fire with 3 Moretti soldiers. The woman from yesterday was in the passenger seat, already on the phone. "We've got her. Heading to location Bravo." "Yes, sir." She turned to look at Maya, and for the first time, there was something like sympathy in her eyes. "Welcome to the war, Miss Santos." Location Bravo turned out to be a tea house. Maya stared through the SUV window at the small, unassuming building with its painted sign and lace curtains. After the gunfire, the blood, the sheer terror of nearly being kidnapped, she'd expected a fortress. Instead, they'd driven 40 minutes to a quiet street in a suburban neighborhood where the biggest threat appeared to be overpriced scones.
"You're joking," she said.
"Mr. Romano's waiting inside," the driver said, ignoring her tone. "He specifically requested somewhere."
Non threatening.
"After I was just almost kidnapped." "That's exactly why. He wants you to understand that he's not forcing anything. This is a conversation, not a cage." The woman met her eyes in the rear-view mirror. "You're free to walk away, Miss Santos. But I'd recommend hearing him out first." Maya's hands were still shaking from the adrenaline. Her shoulder hurt where she'd been grabbed. She could still hear the gunshots echoing in her head. But she got out of the car. The tea house was nearly empty, an elderly couple in the corner, a woman reading a book by the window, and Vittorio Romano at a table in the back, looking oddly out of place in his expensive suit surrounded by floral tablecloths and ceramic teapots. He stood when she approached. No guards visible, though Maya suspected they were close. "Miss Santos, please sit." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Would you like tea? Coffee?" They make excellent apple turnovers here. Maya sat because her legs felt unsteady. I was almost kidnapped 20 minutes ago. I know. I'm sorry, his expression was genuinely troubled. My people were supposed to move you before the Morettis located the safe house. We had a leak. It's been handled. Handled, Maya repeated flatly. The person who gave up your location is no longer in my employment. He poured tea from a blue ceramic pot, chamomile from the smell. I need you to understand something. I didn't want this for you. I didn't want you involved in any of this. But my gratitude put a target on your back, and now I have a responsibility to keep you safe. Your gratitude, Maya's voice shook. I saved your daughter because she's a child who is in danger. That's it. I didn't ask for protection or gratitude, or to become a chess piece in whatever game you're playing with the Morettis. I know, he set the teapot down carefully. And if I could undo it, if I could make them forget you exist, I would. But I can't. They've decided you're valuable, which makes you vulnerable. Maya wrapped her hands around the teacup he'd poured, needing something to hold on to. So, what now? I hide forever? Change my name and move to Alaska. If that's what you want, I can arrange it. New identity, new city, enough money to start over. You'd be safe, he paused. But they might still look for you. The Morettis are persistent, and they have resources. And the other option? You accept my protection until this situation is resolved. I have a place outside the city, quiet, secure, comfortable. You'd be safe there while I handle the Moretti problem. Handle it how? Vittorio's jaw tightened. You don't need to know the details. If I'm accepting your help, I do, Maya leaned forward. I'm not naive. I know what you are, what you do. If people are going to die because of me. No one is going to die because of you, he interrupted, his voice firm. People might die because the Morettis tried to use an innocent woman as leverage. People might die because they attacked my family. But those are consequences of their choices, not yours. He spoke like a father, Maya realized. Not a crime lord making threats, but a parent explaining difficult truths. It should have made him less intimidating. Somehow, it made him more real. I just want my life back, she said quietly. I want to go to work, pay my rent, be invisible again. I understand. And I promise you, that's the goal. But right now, invisible isn't safe. He reached into his jacket. Maya tensed and pulled out a phone. He scrolled for a moment, then turned it toward her. A video played, Leah in a bright room, drawing at a table. She looked up at the camera and waved.
Miss Maya.
Daddy said you might be sad, so I drew you a picture. It's us at the diner, but it's not on fire. And look, she held up a crayon drawing of two stick figures, one small with dark curls, one taller with a ponytail, both smiling enormous smiles. You have a cape because you're a superhero. The video ended. Maya's throat was tight. That's not fair. I know, Vittorio pocketed the phone. But it's true. She asks about you every day. Wants to know if you're okay, if you're coming to visit, if you like the same kind of cookies she does. He paused. You didn't just save her life, Miss Santos. You showed her what kindness looks like. In my world, that's rare. Maya stared at her tea, watching the steam curl and dissipate. She thought about her empty apartment, the jobs that wouldn't hire her, the car that had been watching her building, the man in the diner with hungry eyes and the hand that had clamped over her mouth in the alley. She thought about a little girl with a stuffed elephant and a drawing of a superhero in a cape. If I stay in this safe house, Maya said slowly, what are the rules? Vittorio's shoulders relaxed slightly. You're not a prisoner. You're a guest. You can leave whenever you want, though I'd ask you to coordinate with my security team. You can have visitors if you'd like, though we'd need to vet them first for your safety. And Leah? Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or hope. She would love to visit. If you're comfortable with that. Maya nodded slowly. Okay,
I'll stay.
but only until this is over. Agreed, he extended his hand across the table. Thank you for trusting me. Maya shook it, his grip warm and steady, and wondered if she'd just made the smartest or stupidest decision of her life. The safe house wasn't what Maya expected. She'd imagined something sterile, a bunker disguised as a home, all security cameras and locked doors. Instead, the SUV pulled up to a cottage 40 minutes outside the city, tucked away in a wooded area where the only sounds were birds and wind through the trees. It had a blue door, a wraparound porch, and wildflowers growing in untamed clusters around the mailbox. "This is it?" Maya asked. "It's one of several properties," the driver, whose name was Lauren, she'd finally learned, explained. "This one's used for quieter situations. There's a security perimeter, but it's designed to look residential. The neighbors think you're Mr. Romano's cousin recovering from surgery. Do I have a fake name? Only if you want one." Inside, the house was cozy. Worn furniture that looked actually lived in. A kitchen with copper pots hanging over the stove. Books on the shelves, puzzles on a side table, an acoustic guitar leaning in the corner. The bedroom upstairs had a quilt on the bed and a window that overlooked the woods. It felt like someone's home. Maybe it had been once. "There's food in the fridge and pantry," Lauren said. "Landline works if you need anything, just dial *62. Someone will answer. Your cell should work fine out here too, but the landline is more secure. And I can really just stay here." Mr. Romano's orders. "Make yourself comfortable." Lauren headed for the door, then paused. "For what it's worth, Miss Santos, you did a good thing. Not many people would have run into that fire." Then she was gone, and Maya was alone. She spent the first day just breathing. No job applications, no looking over her shoulder, no wondering if today would be the day. Everything fell apart. She made simple meals, scrambled eggs, grilled cheese, soup from a can. She sat on the porch and watched the sun filter through the leaves. She slept for 10 hours straight and woke up without an alarm for the first time in months. On the second day, she started to feel human again. On the third day, Vittorio called. "How are you settling in?" he asked.
It's nice.
"Quiet. Feels strange to not be working. I'm glad you're resting."
You've earned it, he paused.
"Leah has been asking when she can visit. Would this weekend work for you? I'll bring her Saturday afternoon, if that's all right. Just for a few hours." Maya found herself smiling. Yeah, that would be nice. Saturday came with perfect autumn weather. Cool air, bright sun, leaves just starting to turn. Maya had been nervous all morning, cleaning the already clean house, trying to decide if she should bake something, then deciding that was ridiculous. The black SUV arrived at 2 o'clock. Leah burst out before it fully stopped, her face lighting up when she saw Maya on the porch. She was wearing jeans and a purple sweater, her dark curls bouncing as she ran. "Miss Maya." Maya caught her in a hug, and suddenly the past week felt worth it. The fear, the uncertainty, the upheaval, all of it faded against the simple joy of this little girl's laughter. "I brought Mr. Snuggles," Leah announced, holding up the stuffed elephant. "And Daddy packed cookies, but I'm not supposed to tell you they're store-bought." Vittorio emerged from the SUV, carrying a bag and looking sheepish. "I don't bake." "That's okay," Maya said. "Neither do I." But she'd looked up a simple recipe that morning, and there was sugar cookie dough in the fridge waiting to be rolled out. They spent the afternoon in the kitchen, flour everywhere, cookie cutters in shapes of stars and hearts and cats, Leah standing on a step stool narrating every step like a cooking show host. "And now we add the sprinkles," she said seriously, dumping half the container onto one cookie. "More sprinkles means more delicious." "That's science." "That's definitely science," Maya agreed, catching Vittorio's eye. He was leaning against the counter, sleeves rolled up, watching his daughter with an expression so tender it made Maya's chest ache. This was a side of him no one probably saw, not the crime boss, not the feared Romano patriarch, just a father watching his child be happy. "Daddy, you have to make one too," Leah insisted. "I'm supervising." "That's boring," Leah grabbed his hand, pulling him over. "Make a dinosaur. Please." He couldn't say no to her. Maya watched him carefully cut out a T-Rex shape, his large hands surprisingly gentle with the dough, and felt something shift inside her chest. These were good people. Complicated, dangerous, living in a world she didn't understand, but good. After the cookies were in the oven, they went outside. The property had a small pond at the edge of the woods, and Leah was fascinated by everything: the frogs, the dragonflies, the way the water reflected the trees. "Can we come back next weekend?" she asked, skipping between Maya and her father. "Please?" "If Miss Maya doesn't mind," Vittorio said, looking at her over Leah's head. "I don't mind," Maya said, and meant it. They ate warm cookies at the kitchen table while Leah told elaborate stories about her school friends and her art class and a movie she'd seen about talking cars. Vittorio asked Maya about her favorite books, her childhood in Ohio, the places she'd always wanted to visit, but never had the chance. It was normal. Startlingly, wonderfully normal. As the sun started setting, Leah's energy finally flagged. She curled up on the couch with Mr. Snuggles, her eyes drooping. "We should go," Vittorio said quietly. "Let you have your evening." Maya walked them to the door. Leah hugged her goodbye, making her promise to save some cookies for next time. "Thank you," Vittorio said, his hand resting briefly on Leah's shoulder. Today meant everything to her. It meant a lot to me too. He studied her for a moment, something unreadable in his dark eyes. "You're good for her. She's been lighter, happier, since she met you. She's a special kid." "She is." He opened the car door, helped Leah inside. Before getting in himself, he turned back. "Maya, I'm working on the Moretti situation. It won't be much longer. I trust you." The word surprised them both. Vittorio nodded once, then drove away, and Maya stood on the porch watching the taillights disappear through the trees, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time.
Peace.
Maya woke to her phone ringing at 3 a.m. She fumbled for it in the dark, heart already pounding. Late-night calls were never good news. "Hello. Maya, it's Lauren. I need you to stay calm." The driver's voice was tight, controlled. "There's been an incident in the city. Your apartment building." Maya sat up, fully awake now. "What happened?"
A bomb.
"Targeted at several Romano-controlled properties tonight. Your building was one of them." Lauren paused. "The Morettis are escalating. No one was killed, but there were injuries. Your floor took significant damage." Maya's hand pressed against her mouth. "Mrs. Kowalski. The college student in 5B who played guitar too loud. Mr. Chin from downstairs who always complained about the heat. Are they okay? The people in my building?" Most evacuated in time. A few injuries from debris, smoke inhalation. "Could have been much worse if there'd been more people home at that hour." Lauren's voice softened. "If you'd been there, Maya." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Maya's legs felt weak. She'd been safe in this cottage, baking cookies and laughing with a little girl, while her neighbors, people who'd done nothing wrong except live in the same building as her, had their homes destroyed. "This is my fault," she whispered.
No.
"This is the Morettis' fault. They're trying to draw Romano out by hitting civilian targets. You're not responsible for their choices." But Maya had heard that before, and it didn't make the guilt easier to swallow. "What about my things? My photos, She stopped. It didn't matter. Things could be replaced. People couldn't. The building is a crime scene right now. When it's cleared, we can arrange for someone to salvage what they can." Lauren paused. "Mr. Romano wanted me to tell you that he's covering all damages, medical expenses, and temporary housing for everyone displaced. It won't fix everything, but I need to see it," Maya said suddenly. "I need to see what happened." "That's not a good idea." "I don't care. Those are my neighbors, my home. I can't just sit here while." "Maya, if the Morettis of people watching the site, showing up there puts you at risk." "I'm already at risk." Maya's voice cracked. "I'm hiding in the woods while people I've known for years lose everything because of me. The least I can do is see it." Silence on the other end. "Then, I'll call you back." 20 minutes later, Lauren arrived with the SUV. They approached from the south, parking 3 blocks away. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of gray and pink that felt obscene given the circumstances. Maya could see the flashing lights before she saw the building. Police barriers, fire trucks, ambulances, news vans with their satellite dishes extended. And her building, her home for 3 years, with a gaping hole where the 4th and 5th floors used to be. Black scorch marks crawled up the brick like shadows. Windows blown out. The fire escape twisted into modern art. Maya's knees buckled. Lauren caught her arm.
Easy.
I lived there, Maya breathed. That was my window. Her bedroom was just
Gone.
the bed she'd bought at a thrift store, the photos of her parents she'd kept on the dresser, the jacket she'd been saving up to replace. All of it reduced to rubble and ash. They stood behind the police line, and Maya watched her neighbors huddled in blankets, talking to officers, some crying, some just staring at the destruction in shock. She recognized Mrs. Kowalski being treated by paramedics, an oxygen mask over her face. The guitarist from 5B had his arm in a sling. I should talk to them, Maya said. Absolutely not. If anyone recognizes you, they deserve to know I'm sorry. They deserve to be safe, which means you staying hidden. Lauren's grip tightened. Maya, I understand how you feel, but showing yourself here helps no one. Maya knew she was right, but watching from the shadows while people suffered felt like cowardice. A black car pulled up, not Romano's. Maya recognized the hungry-eyed man from the Brooklyn diner as he stepped out, surveying the damage with satisfaction. He made a call, spoke briefly, then looked directly at the spot where Maya and Lauren were standing. He couldn't see them through the crowd, could he? He smiled and got back in the car. We need to leave, Lauren said urgently.
Now.
They were halfway to the SUV when Maya's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. Enjoying the view? The voice was oily, amused. That's just the opening act, Miss Santos. Mr. Moretti wanted you to understand what happens to Romano's investments. That building? That's on you. Every injury, every ruined home. You did that by choosing the wrong side. I didn't choose any side, Maya said through gritted teeth. I saved a child, and now other people are paying for it. Funny how that works, the voice hardened. Here's what happens next, more targets. More damage. More innocent people caught in the crossfire, unless you convince Romano that protecting you isn't worth the cost. The line went dead. Maya stood frozen on the sidewalk, rage and helplessness warring inside her chest. What did they say? Lauren asked. They're going to keep hurting people until Vittorio stops protecting me. Maya's hands clenched into fists. They're using me as bait. Then we make sure they can't find you. But Maya wasn't thinking about hiding anymore. She was thinking about the smile on that man's face, the satisfaction in his voice, the casual cruelty of people who destroyed lives as strategy. She was thinking about Vittorio's card and his promise. This will end. Take me back to the cottage, Maya said quietly. I need to make a call. Lauren studied her face, then nodded. As they drove away from the ruins of her old life, Maya made a decision. She was done being a victim, done being a pawn. If she was going to be part of this war, she was going to fight back. Vittorio arrived at the cottage within 2 hours of her call. Maya heard the car pull up and met him at the door. He looked different than he had during the weekend visit, the careful warmth replaced with something harder, more controlled. This was the man who ran an empire, not the father who'd helped his daughter decorate cookies. You saw the building, he said. Not a question. Lauren took me. I needed to see it. Maya stepped aside to let him in. People I know were hurt because of me. People you know were hurt because the Morettis are animals who target civilians. He moved to the window, hands in his pockets, tension in every line of his body. This is exactly what they wanted, to make you feel responsible, to drive a wedge between us. It's working. He turned sharply. Maya. No, listen, she crossed her arms, trying to keep her voice steady. That man called me. He said they'll keep attacking until you decide I'm not worth protecting. How many more people have to suffer before we admit he's right? He's not right. Vittorio's voice was quiet but firm. Giving in to terrorists, and that's what this is. Terrorism doesn't stop them. It emboldens them. Today it's you. Tomorrow it's someone else. The Morettas have been looking for an excuse to move against my family for years. You're just the catalyst they chose. So what do? I hide here forever while they blow up buildings. No, he moved closer, his dark eyes intense. You stay safe while I remove the threat.
Permanently.
The weight of that word hung in the air between them.
How?
Maya asked quietly. You said you wanted to know the details if you accepted my help. Do you still want that? Maya thought of Mrs. Kowalski's oxygen mask, the guitarist's broken arm, the smoking hole where her bedroom used to be. She thought of Leah's bright smile and the man with hungry eyes who'd threatened her in the diner. Yes. Vittorio gestured to the couch, and they sat. He didn't touch her, kept a respectful distance, but his presence filled the room. The Morettas make their money through construction contracts, gambling, and extortion, he began. They've been trying to expand into territories my family controls for the past decade. Usually we maintain balance. They stay in their lane, we stay in ours. But their current boss, Vincent Moretti, is ambitious and reckless. And now he sees me as an opportunity.
Yes.
He thinks if he can either take you, or make me look weak for protecting a civilian, he can justify a larger move against my operations. Vittorio's jaw tightened. He's wrong, but he's caused enough damage that a response is necessary. What kind of response? I have people working on several fronts. Financial pressure. The Morettas have overextended themselves on a development project in Queens. If certain loans are called in and permits delayed, they'll face bankruptcy. He ticked off points on his fingers. Legal pressure. The FBI has been building a case against Vincent's brother for racketeering. With the right information provided anonymously, that case becomes much stronger. Political pressure. Several city council members who've been in the Morettas' pocket are about to find themselves facing very public scandals. Maya stared at him. You can do all that. I've been doing this for 20 years, Maya. I didn't get here by being impulsive. His expression softened slightly. I'm not my father. I don't start wars I can't win, and I don't spill blood if there's another way. But I need time to execute this properly, which means keeping you safe until the Morettas are too busy trying to save themselves to worry about you. How long? A few weeks. Maybe a month. He met her eyes. I know that seems like forever when you're watching your life fall apart. But I promise you, this will end. And when it does, you'll be able to go home. I don't have a home anymore. The words came out more bitter than she intended. It's rubble. Then we'll build you a new one. He said it like it was simple, like replacing an entire life was just a matter of logistics. Maybe for him it was. Maya leaned back against the couch, exhausted. I feel so useless here. Just waiting while other people fix my problems. You're not useless. You're being smart. Vittorio hesitated, then added, and you're giving Leah something she's never had before. What's that? Someone outside this world who cares about her. His voice was quiet now, almost vulnerable. Everyone in her life is either family or connected to the business. She's been raised around guards and careful conversations, and the knowledge that her last name makes her a target. But you met her as just a little girl who needed help.
No agenda.
No fear. Just kindness. Maya's throat tightened. She's easy to care about.
She is.
But most people don't see past who her father is. He stood, moving back to the window. After her mother died, cancer 3 years ago, Leah became even more isolated. I've tried to give her as normal a life as possible, but normal is hard in my world.
I'm sorry.
About your wife. Thank you. He was quiet for a moment. Isabella would have liked you. She always said I needed to surround myself with people who'd tell me the truth instead of what I wanted to hear. Is that what I do? You called me out for making this situation my responsibility. You demanded details instead of accepting easy answers. You risked your life for a child you didn't know. He looked back at her.
Yes.
That's exactly what you do. A phone buzzed. Vittorio checked it, and his expression hardened. I need to go. There's a situation that requires my attention. He headed for the door, then paused. Leah wants to visit again next weekend. She's been talking nonstop about the cookies and the pond. Would that be all right? Despite everything, the fear, the anger, the uncertainty, Maya smiled.
Yeah.
Tell her I'll teach her how to make frosting this time. She'll be thrilled, his expression softened.
Thank you, Maya.
For understanding. For being patient. For being here. Then he was gone, and Maya was alone again in the quiet cottage. She looked around at this temporary sanctuary, at the life on hold, at the uncertain future stretching ahead. And for the first time since the fire, she felt something like hope. The weeks that followed passed in a strange, suspended rhythm. Maya settled into the cottage like it was temporary home, because that's what it was. She read books from the shelves, learned to play 3 chords on the guitar, took long walks through the woods with Lauren trailing at a discreet distance. She video-called Rosa, who cried with relief that Maya was safe and whispered that the diner had received an anonymous payment covering all her debts to the Morettis. I don't know how, Rosa had said, her voice shaking, but someone made them forgive everything. I'm free, baby. After 10 years, I'm finally free. Maya knew exactly how, but she didn't say. Leah visited every weekend, sometimes with her father, sometimes with a kind-eyed woman named Marie who Vittorio introduced as Leah's nanny. They baked increasingly elaborate desserts, brownies with caramel swirl, lemon bars that turned out lopsided but delicious, a chocolate cake that collapsed in the middle and made Leah laugh so hard she got hiccups. It's abstract cake, Leah had declared seriously. Like in museums, Vittorio usually stayed for these visits, watching from the kitchen doorway or helping when Leah demanded his assistance. Maya learned small things about him during those afternoons. He took his coffee black. He was terrible at charades. He knew every word to the songs from Leah's favorite animated movies and would sing them without self-consciousness when his daughter asked. He was careful around Maya. Respectful. Never pushing, never assuming. Always maintaining that professional distance even as the space between them felt increasingly complicated. Maya tried not to think about that complication. 3 weeks into her stay, Vittorio called during off hours. Turn on the news, he said without preamble. Channel 7. Maya grabbed the remote. The news anchor was mid-sentence. Multiple arrests in a sweeping FBI operation targeting organized crime in Queens. Vincent Moretti, alleged head of the Moretti crime family, was taken into custody this morning along with 16 associates on charges including racketeering, extortion, and money laundering. The screen showed footage of Vincent Moretti, a heavy-set man in his 50s with cold eyes, being led out of a restaurant in handcuffs. More arrests followed. The hungry-eyed man from the diner. Others Maya didn't recognize. Federal prosecutors are calling this one of the largest organized crime busts in the city's history, the anchor continued. Sources say the investigation was aided by a confidential informant close to the organization. Maya muted the TV. You did this. I provided information the FBI already suspected. I just gave them enough evidence to move. Vittorio's voice was matter-of-fact. Vincent will spend the next 2 decades in prison minimum. His organization is fractured. The remaining Morettis are scrambling to avoid indictment or fighting each other for control. So it's over? Not completely. There's still cleanup, still some danger until everything settles. But the immediate threat to you is gone, he paused. You'll need to stay there for another week or 2 while we ensure no one's looking for revenge, but after that, you're free.
Free.
The word should have brought relief. Instead, Maya felt strangely hollow. What happens to everyone who was hurt? The people in my building? Every tenant received full compensation for their losses and 6 months of paid housing. Medical bills were covered anonymously. The building is being completely renovated. Better than it was before, his voice softened. They'll be fine, Maya. You made sure of that by trusting me. After they hung up, Maya sat in the quiet cottage and tried to imagine going back to her old life. Finding a new apartment. Getting a job. Maybe Rosa would hire her back now that the Moretti debt was gone. Returning to normal. But what was normal after this? The next weekend, Vittorio arrived alone. Leah's at a birthday party, he explained, holding up a grocery bag. But she made me promise to bring you these. Inside were handmade cards, crayon drawings of stick figures labeled Ms. Maya and Daddy and me, hearts and flowers covering every inch of paper. Maya's eyes stung. She wants to know if you'll come to her school art show next month, Vittorio continued. I told her I'd ask. Next month I'll be back in the city, Maya said carefully. Back to my life. I know, he set the bag down. But that doesn't mean you can't still be part of hers. If you want to be. They stood in the kitchen, the afternoon sun slanting through the windows, and Maya felt the weight of that offer.
Vittorio.
Your world and mine, they don't mix. They already have. He moved closer, not touching but near enough that she could see the tiredness around his eyes, the gray threading through his dark hair. You think once you leave here, everything goes back to how it was? You saved my daughter. You've become important to her, to both of us. That doesn't just disappear because the thread is gone. I'm nobody, Maya said quietly. A waitress who did one decent thing. You're a woman who ran into fire without hesitation. Who demanded truth when most people would have taken the easy lies. Who made my daughter laugh more in 6 weeks than she has in 3 years, his voice was rough. You're not nobody, Maya. Not to us. She didn't know what to say to that. Vittorio seemed to realize he'd said too much. He stepped back, professional distance reasserting itself. I should go. But think about the art show. Leah would love to have you there. He left before Maya could respond. That night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about temporary homes and permanent connections, about the life she'd had and the life that was waiting. And about the choice she'd have to make when the week was up. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon, 2 weeks after Vincent Moretti's arrest. It's safe, Lauren said simply. You can go home whenever you're ready. Home. Maya looked around the cottage, at the guitar she'd been learning, the half-finished puzzle on the coffee table, the kitchen where she and Leah had created disasters masquerading as desserts. Somewhere along the way, this place had stopped feeling like hiding and started feeling like living. Okay, she said. Give me a day to pack. But she didn't pack. She sat on the porch and watched the woods, trying to figure out who she was now that the crisis had passed. Vittorio arrived the next morning unannounced. Maya heard his car and met him at the door, surprised. I thought Lauren was picking me up this afternoon. She was. I asked if I could come instead. He looked uncertain in a way she'd never seen before. Do you have a few minutes? I'd like to talk before you leave. They walked to the pond, following the path Leah always insisted on taking. The autumn air was crisp, leaves crunching under their feet. Neither spoke until they reached the water's edge. I owe you an apology, Vittorio said finally. For everything that happened. The fire wasn't your fault, but everything after, the targeting, the bombing, the upheaval of your entire life. That was because of who I am. Because saving Leah connected you to me. You didn't do those things. The Morettis did. But they did them because of me. He picked up a smooth stone, turned it over in his hands. I've spent my whole life building walls between my world and the normal one. Trying to keep people like Leah safe from the consequences of what I do. But those walls don't always hold. Maya watched him, this complicated man who'd orchestrated the downfall of an entire criminal organization to protect people he barely knew. What are you really trying to say? He threw the stone. It skipped twice before sinking. That you deserve better than what I can offer. You deserve a simple life, safety, normalcy. Not weekly security checks and the constant knowledge that knowing me puts a target on your back. He turned to face her. So, when you leave today, I won't contact you again unless you reach out first.
No obligations. No expectations.
Just freedom. Maya's chest tightened. And Leah? Pain flickered across his face. I'll explain to her that you needed to go back to your life. She'll understand eventually. Will she? Maya's voice was sharper than intended. She's 8, Vittorio. She lost her mother 3 years ago, and now the person she's been asking about every day is just going to disappear? What's the alternative? You become a permanent part of our lives? You accept that every relationship you have will be scrutinized, that you'll always need to be careful, that normal will never really exist again. His voice rose slightly. I won't trap you in my world, Maya. I won't do that to you. What if I want to be trapped? The words came out before she could stop them. Vittorio stared at her. What? Maya took a breath. For 6 weeks, I've been waiting for my old life back. My apartment, my job, my routine. But the truth is, that life was just survival. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat. I was invisible, and I told myself that was safety, when really, it was just loneliness. She moved closer to him, the words tumbling out now. Here, even while hiding, I felt more alive than I have in years. I've had purpose, connection. I've watched a little girl laugh and seen her father be gentle and realized that maybe the normal I've been chasing isn't actually what I want anymore. Maya. Let me finish, she held up a hand. I'm not saying I want to be part of your business or your world. I don't. But I'm also not ready to walk away from you, and Leal like these past weeks didn't matter. Vittorio was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching her face. What do you want? He asked finally. If you could have anything, no danger, no complications, what would your life look like? Maya had never let herself think about it. Want felt dangerous when survival took all your energy. But standing here, with the autumn sun filtering through the trees and this man looking at her like her answer actually mattered, she let herself dream. Something small, she said quietly. Something warm. A place where people feel welcome, where the coffee's always hot and everything smells like fresh bread. I've always thought about opening a bakery, nothing fancy, just neighborhood-sized. Somewhere people come not just for food, but because it feels like home. She laughed self-consciously. That probably sounds stupid. It doesn't. His voice was rough. It sounds perfect. It's also impossible. I have $200 in savings and no credit. Banks don't exactly line up to give loans to unemployed waitresses with bombed-out apartments. Vittorio was quiet, but something shifted in his expression. What if it wasn't impossible? What do you mean? I have resources. Connections. I could help you. No. Maya stepped back. I'm not taking your money. That's not what this is. What if it wasn't my money? He spoke carefully now, thinking out loud. I have a foundation, completely legitimate, handles charitable giving, community investment. They fund small businesses, first-time entrepreneurs. What if they funded yours?
Vittorio.
It would be separate from me. Clean paperwork, proper channels. You'd own it completely. Answer to no 1 inch. He moved closer. You could have your dream, Maya. The one you just told me about. The bakery, the warmth, the home you want to build. Maya's heart was racing. Why would you do that? Because you asked me what you wanted and you told me. And because he hesitated, vulnerability crossing his face. Because you saved my daughter, and I haven't figured out how to thank you for that. But mostly because you deserve to have something that's yours. The offer hung between them, enormous and terrifying and impossibly tempting. I need to think about it, Maya said finally. Take all the time you need. Vittorio pulled out his phone, typed something, then showed her the screen. That's the foundation director's contact. When you're ready, if you're ready, call her. No pressure.
No strines.
Maya looked at the information, then at him. And Leah's art show.
His face softened.
2 weeks from Thursday. 7 p.m. She'd love to see you there. I'll think about that too. They walked back to the cottage in companionable silence. When Lauren arrived to drive Maya back to the city, Vittorio helped load her few belongings into the car. Before she got in, he caught her hand briefly. Whatever you decide, he said quietly, thank you. For everything. Then he let go, and Maya climbed into the SUV. As they pulled away, she looked back once. Vittorio stood in front of the cottage, hands in his pockets, watching her leave. Maya turned forward and pulled out her phone, staring at the foundation director's contact information. A bakery. Her own place. A dream that had always seemed impossible. She had 2 weeks to decide if she was brave enough to reach for it. 6 months later. The bell above the door chimed, a soft, welcoming sound, and Maya looked up from the counter where she was arranging fresh loaves of sourdough. "Be right with you," she called. The bakery was small, just like she'd imagined. 12 tables, mismatched chairs she'd found at estate sales and refinished herself, walls painted a warm cream color that caught the morning light. The display case held crusty baguettes, chocolate croissants, cinnamon rolls that people lined up for on weekends, and the lemon bars that had become her signature item. The sign outside, hand-painted by a local artist, read, "Maya's Hearth." It had taken 3 months to find the right location, a corner spot in a neighborhood that was diverse, working class, exactly the kind of place where a bakery could become part of the community fabric. Another 2 months to renovate, to install the ovens, to get the permits and licenses. The foundation had been exactly what Vittorio promised, legitimate, professional, completely separate from him. The director, a sharp woman named Patricia, had walked Maya through every step of the process, never once mentioning the Romano name. Maya owned it. All of it. Her dream, her risk, her reward. The first customer of the day was Mr. Chin from her old building, who tracked her down a month after opening. Best coffee in the borough, he declared every time he visited, which was 3 times a week now. The morning rush came next, construction workers grabbing coffee and muffins, nurses from the nearby hospital stopping by after night shifts, students camping out with laptops and buying refills. Maya moved through it all with practiced ease, remembering orders, learning names, creating exactly the warm, welcoming space she described by the pond. At noon, during the lunch lull, the bell chimed again. Maya turned and felt her heart lift. Leah burst through the door, her hair in braids now, wearing jeans and a t-shirt with a cartoon cat on it. She was carrying a folder stuffed with papers. "Miss Maya, guess what? I got an A on my book report. And look," she pulled out a drawing of the bakery, complete with tiny details like the window boxes Maya had planted with herbs. "I drew your place for art class. It's beautiful." Maya came around the counter and hugged her. "The best thing I've seen all day." Vittorio entered behind his daughter, and Maya's breath caught slightly the way it always did when she saw him. He was in casual clothes today, jeans, a dark sweater, looking more like a regular father than a man who dismantled a criminal empire. "Sorry to drop in unannounced," he said. Leah insisted. "You never need to announce," Maya said, meaning it. "The usual? Please." While Leah settled at their favorite table by the window, Maya had mentally labeled it Leah's table weeks ago. Vittorio approached the counter. "Business is good?" he asked quietly. "Better than good. We're actually profitable as of last month." Maya poured his black coffee, added steamed milk and honey to Leah's hot chocolate. "Patricia said that's rare for a first-year business. You did that. Not the money, not the foundation. You." Their fingers brushed as she handed him the cups, and the moment stretched between them, familiar, comfortable, still laced with something neither of them had quite named. Over the past months, they'd settled into a rhythm. Vittorio and Leah came by once a week, sometimes twice. Never demanding, never assuming, just present. Maya had gone to Leah's art show, then her school play, then her 9th birthday party at a bowling alley where Maya had laughed harder than she had in years. They'd become friends. Or something like it. Maya brought over a plate of fresh cookies, oatmeal chocolate chip, Leah's favorite, and sat with them for a few minutes during the quiet hour. "How's school?" she asked Leah. "Good. We're doing a project about heroes." "I picked you," Leah said it so matter-of-factly, like it was obvious. "Because you saved me, and then you made your dream come true, and Daddy says that's what heroes do." Maya's throat tightened. "Your dad's pretty heroic too, you know."
Leah nodded seriously. "He is.
"But he won't let me write about him, because he says it's complicated." Vittorio looked slightly embarrassed. "I suggested she pick someone easier to explain." "But you're not easy, Daddy." "That's what makes you interesting." Leah turned back to Maya. "Can I interview you? I need to know 3 things you're proud of and 3 things you want to do next." "Sure, sweetheart. Let me just help these customers." A young couple had entered, looking around with the tentative excitement of first-time visitors. Maya served them, answered their questions about the daily specials, and felt that same quiet satisfaction she felt every time someone walked through her door. This was hers. This warm space, these moments, this life she'd built from ashes. When she returned to the table, Vittorio was watching her with an expression that made her heart skip. "What?" she asked. "Nothing.
Just.
You look happy." "I am." She sat down, realized it was true in a way it hadn't been 6 months ago. "I really am." Leah pulled out a notebook, very official. "Okay, interview time. First question, what's the best thing about having a bakery?" Maya thought about it. The people, getting to be part of their day, their routines. Knowing that maybe I made someone's morning a little brighter. "That's nice," Leah wrote carefully. Second question, what was the scariest part?
Starting.
Taking the risk. Believing I deserved to try. Vittorio's hand rested on the table near hers, not touching but close. "And the third question," Leah continued, "what do you want to do next?" Maya looked at this little girl who'd changed her life by running into a fire for a stuffed elephant, at the man who'd given her the chance to dream, at the bakery around them, filled with the smell of bread and coffee and possibility. "I want to keep building," she said softly. "Keep creating this space. And maybe," she glanced at Vittorio, then back to Leah, "maybe let more people into my life who matter." Leah beamed. "Like us." "Exactly like you." Vittorio's hand moved those final inches, covering hers briefly before pulling away. But the warmth remained. "We should let you get back to work," he said, standing. "Come on, Leah. We need to get you to soccer practice." "Can we come back on Saturday?" Leah asked, gathering her papers. "Please." "Saturday's perfect," Maya said. She walked them to the door. Leah hugged her goodbye, and Vittorio lingered for just a moment. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for letting us be part of this. Thank you for helping me build it." After they left, Maya stood at the window and watched them walk down the street, Leah skipping ahead, Vittorio's hand on her shoulder, both of them laughing at something. A father and daughter, living their lives. And now, part of hers. The bell chimed as new customers entered. Maya turned back to her bakery, to the afternoon ahead, to the life she'd fought for and earned. 6 months ago, she'd saved a child from a fire and lost everything. Today, standing in her own warm space with flour on her apron and hope in her chest, Maya understood the truth. Sometimes you have to burn down to build something better. Sometimes the best things in life come from the unlikeliest fires. She smiled and greeted her customers, ready for whatever came next.
The end.